Hey, good evening and welcome, everybody. It's Ukraine Update on the Shills. We got a great panel today here with our own Commander 401, Dave Worley himself, Claire Bear, and Clapperjack, our buddy from Belarus who got out just in time and is having a lovely time in Poland, except for a few accidents. We got Nick from the End Time Show. We got Commander Macmillan from the End Time Show. And of course, we've got the man who will be elected Ukraine's ambassador to the world, Operator Starsky. What's happening over there, buddy?
Hey, hi everyone, Operator Starsky here. It's fine. Today we have Orthodox Christmas in Ukraine. There's not some number of Ukrainians celebrate Orthodox Christmas on 7th of January. I think already this year we will celebrate it for the last time, hopefully. And what makes this celebration special is that today was the first time when Ukrainian church had opportunity to have this celebration ritual in Pecherska Lavra in Kiev, because previously this sort of museum, there's plenty of churches. Pecherska Lavra is basically huge religious site that was built 1,000 years ago, even more. And since Soviet times, it was occupied by Russian church. And because security service of Ukraine had a lot of different operations that showed that Russian church basically was playing on side of Russian invaders. Surprise. So currently this church is banned in Ukraine, and they cannot perform their rituals in this site. And the Ukrainian church was given this opportunity, and they were given this approval to basically to do their things in Pecherska Lavra, which is a huge achievement for centuries, I would say. And yeah, people celebrating Christmas. You probably remember that Putin wanted to, he called for ceasefire during
what an absolute fucking joke.
Yeah, and the result of this so-called ceasefire is 2 people died in Bakhmut today. Numerous cities on the front lines were shelled, and they were hit with missiles. And we know that in 9 years of this war, since 2014, Russia never kept its word about ceasefires. That's why basically nobody believed it. But again, I think the Sun journal, it's not a journal, they have their channel on YouTube, right? So the Sun already made this huge publication titled something like it was first peaceful step made by Putin, and it's just such a joke. And yeah, there's a lot of people who will definitely say, look, it was a great peaceful initiative from Russian invaders, and Ukraine had to accept it because it's like, it's a ceasefire, isn't it what you want, right? But of course, Ukrainians criticized this generous offer from Russians. And yeah, and of course, we said that we celebrated our main party on December 25th. That's why, after 2 strikes on New Year, we don't really want to even negotiate that with Russians. It's like they conducted one missile strike on the New Year's Eve. They conducted 2 drone strikes on the New Year's night and the day after. And after that, they asked for ceasefire for Christmas, which is it's laughable, actually.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Sun is a subsidiary of some Murdoch outlet.
I believe so. Let me look that
Yeah,
up.
so
I
you
think
know,
it is.
it's like trying to believe Fox News telling you that, oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, they post they post a lot of Ukrainian footage, for example, from Ukrainian drones roasting Russian invaders on a battlefield. They do that every day, and yeah. But sometimes they post crap like that. It's like with the New York Times, you know. Sometimes they make a lot of good publications. Sometimes they call Girkin, terrorist Girkin, a Russian military expert or leader of Ukrainian rebels. That's the same.
Which is the most funniest thing ever.
Yeah, the same terrorist who shut down the MH17 Boeing full of people. And yeah, so it's different time to time.
I don't know. After that trial with the Sun and Johnny Depp, I don't trust the Sun at all.
Yeah.
Macmillan was correct. The Sun is Murdoch. So yeah.
Yep.
Mouthpiece is the authoritarian alt-right.
Yeah. So we're the Streamlads bot is giving us a total nightmare. Jinzu in the chat there and I are trying to sort it out. We'll get it figured. Let's see here. It would be great if we went to a couple of viewer questions and stuff there, Dave, because that would give me a minute to do all that tinkering in the background.
Absolutely, not a problem at all. Wonderful to be back in a new year, but under certain circumstances, we technically wouldn't want to be here. That's in a nice way, like, but you know what I mean. So we do have a number of different questions coming forward. One of them, I wanted to start with mine. I do hear from a few more conservative friends of mine, particularly in America. They're very concerned about this banning of church scenario. You can imagine what would go down in America. What's the knock-on effect of that in terms of free speech, in terms of still demonstrating certain Ukrainian values?
I have a question in response. Is propaganda of terrorism considered freedom of speech?
This is a wonderful question. I open it to the panel.
I think it's also important to note when we talk Russian Orthodox Church as coming from Russia, that church has had very deep ties to Russian internal security services since the Bolshevik Revolution. So it's not it's not so much a religious institution as a religious front operated by the government.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That is the most accurate thing
Interesting
ever.
way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead, Claire.
To answer, Starsky, in answer to Dave, putting it to the panel, for me, when you say free speech as an American, that's a big thing here. But there's a line, at least for me, and I think for many Americans, when free speech causes harm, like when you say for terroristic threats or putting out things that actually causes more harm than good for the general public, the consequence has to be greater. Free speech doesn't come without consequence. So the pushback has got to be really, really great. So I would say if you think it's causing great harm and more damage, then yeah, needs to be hindered in some way. I know that's a dangerous word, hinder, when you talk about free speech, but this is the reality that we all live in. Free speech is in a vacuum. It's not a bubble. It's not a catch-all phrase that covers the misdeeds of others whenever the hell they feel like it.
If we are,
Sure.
absolutely agree with you, and if we're talking about Russia, the Russian Orthodox Church represents interests of country that doesn't have freedom of speech at all. It doesn't have any, Western values like freedom of speech. It doesn't exist there, and people must understand that Russians, specifically Russians, exploit those values a lot. If we are talking about freedom of speech, if we're talking about independent media, right? They don't have freedom of speech in their own country, but they pretend that their freedom of speech is suppressed, right? Which is again laughable. They exploit all those values, and people must understand that when terrorists exploit Western values, then we should react appropriately. Sometimes it's banning Russian propagandist media because propaganda is a weapon. It doesn't bring any freedom of speech or any value. It only brings their informational weapons into masses. And that's why we act like that. And I'm sure that when you learn more about Russians who invented propaganda, Russian propaganda is the scariest informational weapon in the world. Actually, nobody can compare to them. Nobody,
right?
Literally. I think that a lot of people will understand that they gotta read 1984 in order to understand how it works.
Excellent book.
It brings up this idea that you can't shout fire in a compact space, like a cinema or something.
Yeah.
It's a classic example. We do have a couple of hands up. I don't remember who put up their hand first, but let's go with 401.
Operator Starsky, in one of your videos where you showed some propaganda video of this old babushka standing in front of a priest who had his back turned, and then he turned around and he was black. Now, you had mentioned that church was supposed to be open to everyone, and like the preachers like Robin Bullock, who are false prophets, who also say that if you're not politically aligned with him and you don't like Russia, it's because you hate God. Shouldn't, doesn't like the Russian Orthodox Church exclude people who, try to push people away, who want to be Christians, who aren't politically aligned with Russia's interests, like some of the people do here?
Yes, of course. Sometimes they have this, ritual when, for example, when soldier passes away, and his body is brought to Ukraine, and then local priests will have their service before burying his body. And for example, Russian church sometimes refuses to do this service, this ritual, burying ritual, because the soldier, for example, belonged to Ukrainian church, and this happens a lot. It still happens a lot, and it's a big deal because in Ukraine traditionally, like 90% of people must have this service before being buried. It's a very important tradition for Ukrainians, and like all of my guys who were killed on the front lines, they all had this. Their family had this because Ukrainians are mostly religious people, right? So Russians refuse to bury those men in a Christian way because they belonged to other church, Christian church, but still it's Ukrainian church, and Russians hate Ukrainians, of course. So yeah, as for that advertisement, I saw another advertisement just today. As you know, Russians started some new crazy informational campaign, and this one was aimed at a Western audience this time. So you probably can find it on the YouTube. It's like when a lonely American man is about to celebrate Christmas, but he's lonely. He needs somebody, you know, to celebrate with, and then he searches through Tinder and tries to find some girl to get acquainted with and stuff, and he selects gender, and suddenly some crazy person appears next to this man, and she starts like yelling at him, like, why did you select? And again, it's all done is in perfect English, in American English and stuff, and this person starts yelling at this man, and she screams like, why did you select her gender like female? Why didn't you consider like all those genders created by LGBT and stuff? And he's like, oh my god. And then he goes to some other place, and he's like, I just want to meet a normal, just an ordinary girl. And all the people in that facility turn around at him and like start like attacking him, because there's like list of genders that he could choose, but he prefers and basically it promotes this idea of gay rope, right? And then this man travels to Russia, where gays are banned, where there's like just two genders, and he meets a lot of Russian women and stuff. I don't know why Russian ads are so cringy, because like previously in most cases it wasn't like that, but they start producing those ads with like hamster, Ukrainian family, starving Ukrainian family eats hamster, or that cringy ad with Lada. Oh my god! I mean, I sometimes have this impression that people who develop those normal efficient ads, they were freaking mobilized, because this shit is as cringy as hell.
Yeah, they've definitely gone back to the old Soviet model of very, very heavy-handed propaganda.
Yeah.
Anybody on the outside look at it and go, what in the actual F?
Come to Russia. In Russia, you will find white women, just two genders. In Russia, you will find rich Russian traditions, Russian she, and oh my god,
bunch of drunks on the streets.
Yeah. Like who cares?
Yeah. We had Clapperjack's hand up and then super chats.
Yes, sir. It's a really good point. Like, I can understand why like that kind of people that Dave mentioned might be upset, and it's true. People like the Russian church, they shouldn't be afforded the same kind of it kind of looks from your perspective that it's horrible, right? The freedom of religion and all that is being tampered with. But the thing is that they are indeed, I can confirm, they are just exploiting this whole thing, where they use the same, like this political analyst, Mark Fagan. Is he Russian? Yeah. He said it best. He said that, for example, Margarita Simonyan and her husband Tigran Kesayan are not being they're not being banned in America per se as journalists, because if they're going to ban them, their whole system falls apart, because the rules are the rules. They apply in the same way to everybody. And that's why Russia Today was kind of like, is it still working in America? I'm not sure. Can somebody refresh me? Nobody knows?
Sorry, is what still working in America?
Russia Today.
I haven't seen it. I don't know.
See, I'm kind of just like out of the loop. But for a while it was.
I have seen it come up on my YouTube feed occasionally.
For a while it was, and that's the whole point. These people do not respect freedom of speech. They do not respect anyone for that matter. The only thing they respect is I don't even think they respect themselves for that matter, but they don't care. And if they don't care, why should anyone oblige and give them this opportunity to be like at the same level as everybody else? It's just a little bit, sometimes some people need to kind of like be not silenced per se, but kind of like removed and not influence people, because Russia Today and the Russian church did influence a lot of people, and it must stop. I've been saying that for years and nobody listened, and thankfully it started to happen now. And the sooner it happens, the more freer and less stupid people will be.
I agree on that. I agree on that. And Margarita Simonyan had a speech on a Russian TV where she said that freedom of speech and avoiding censorship was written into our constitution by evil West. and freedom of speech and avoiding censorship and things like that, restriction of censorship, is very bad for our state, because it's not our values. And you can find it on YouTube with subtitles, right? And as soon as they get shut down, like in social media and yada yada, they start screaming about freedom of speech and things like that. They exploit,
oh my God, my rights.
Yeah. People must understand that specifically Russians, because nobody else do that, specifically Russians exploit Western values this way. And because they are not part of Western civilization, and they try to avoid being Western civilization, they should not be given same rights as Western civilization in this regard.
Claire, I think we got some chats to get caught up on, don't we?
Yes, we do. From Song 1103, good to see you all again in the new year, Starsky. You've said that Russian troops tend to bunch up. Is this just poor training or something else?
Pardon? I didn't understand.
He says the Russian troops tend to bunch up. He said it's a statement you made. Is this just poor training or something else?
I think it's bad training, because currently they mobilized a lot of men who had probably some training during their draft service. Basically, all of their, like 99% of their contract army, professional army, was already eliminated. And again, if we take a look at their losses, which is already more than 110,000, I think. Consider that they lost maybe 300,000 men wounded, and their whole army that invaded Ukraine consisted of between 150 and 190,000 men. So they already lost their professional army. They mobilized people who probably had some kind of experience, maybe in Chechen war times and things like that, but mostly in their draft service. And those people that will be mobilized, they will have even more, even less military experience.
Right.
So that's why they decided to mobilize something like 500,000 people, because they all will suck in military regard.
Right.
So basically, the short answer is that it's a lack of training. They don't train properly, and if they train by those old field manuals written in 1947 and never changed since that time.
Well, when your gear's from there, you probably should read those books.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to add something to this, and it's that it touches on the whole issue of the lack of a professional NCO corps. So with men under fire who have not had significant training, the natural tendency is to bunch up because you're frightened, and the proximity of your own friends makes you feel more safe and more confident. A good NCO knows this, and so he will direct the unit to be spaced out for people. When they get shot at, everybody scatters to take up separate fighting positions. If you don't have that NCO, there's nobody to direct this. So when incoming fire hits, everybody naturally bunches up in a tight group, and it makes it much easier for Ukrainian forces to target them.
I can confirm that as an NCO, I did it. I did that a lot during my training with the guys. And speaking of Russians, their NCOs are the same as all other soldiers. They just have a different rank, nothing else.
Okay.
Daddy was on the local committee, so he got the extra chevron.
That's good. Okay, from our member Alms for 2 months, actually 4 months, Shill Apprentice. We have an odd religious problem here in America. I think we can, as Americans, we can all agree with it. From Mark Nick for £2. Starsky, you're the man. Slava Ukraini. Glory to heroes. Well, he put that in Ukraine, but you know me and my accent there. I'm not going to try that. Just glory to heroes is the translation.
You could have asked me.
I could ask you to say it. Here, want to?
No, please don't.
Okay.
It's the first show of the year. Let's stop banking embarrassment of ourselves.
Okay, I was trying not to, Dave. But there you go. Okay, 877 Swiss miss. For 5 Swiss francs. Please, more Russian comedy, Operator Starsky. And then Fudging Kitties. Okay, more of that. I'm backtracking here to get to the questions last. From level 70. Hi, Starsky. Merry Christmas. I saw that Ukraine was manufacturing its own ammunition, and it's yellow. Was that to send a message to the Russians? How much ammo is Ukraine producing on its own? So that's 2 questions for you there.
Yeah, well, as for Russian comedy, I was gonna make a new skit yesterday. Unfortunately, we had some very bad weather, so yeah, it's delayed. But as for our ammunition, we were talking with my friends just like a couple of minutes ago about that. Very interesting question, like where those production factories are located, and we came to a conclusion that because of our Soviet past, Ukraine has a lot of facilities built underground, and that's the reason why Russian missile strikes cannot reach those facilities, because they can basically withstand an impact of a tactical nuke. And I have no idea why they picked yellow color, but I think it looks glamorous.
The yellow color, yes, it is a pretty color, right? I think they from Raven.
I mean, when a yellow shell flies in the blue skies, I mean, everything corresponds.
Well done. I just figured out what you're saying.
Does he think it has anything to do with yellow snow? I don't know. Or I was wondering
No,
if it
blue
was a toilet.
sky,
Oh,
yellow grain. It's the colors of the Ukrainian flag.
absolutely, they are. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. From Raven 7. Hey, positive news on Bradley's. Starsky, you think these will have impact? Later be side, please. I swear more since I became a channel member.
Awesome. Yes, they will totally have a huge impact because a combined number of Bradleys and M113s and those marauders that were promised to Ukraine basically combined, they're enough to equip 2 brigades. So, and I'm talking about 2 big assault brigades. This will definitely have impact, and I'm very glad that finally West gives Ukraine armored vehicles. Maybe we can expect tanks in the nearest future, and probably fighter jets like F-16s.
Mhm.
I suspect that sooner or later we will have them.
All right. From MP Belling. Happy New Year, Slava Ukraine. Glory to the heroes. Thank you for the great work you are doing. Be well and be safe. Wonderful sentiment, MB Belling. Thank you. I think we all agree.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. From Ink Boy. Starsky, what is your view for such statement? Russia war equipment like tanks, BMPs, and such is not bad. It is bad doctrine, and maybe not using doctrine where is the problem on the Russian side.
I absolutely agree on that. For example, main battle tank used in Turkey is T-55. And it's a very old tank. Of course, it was a bit modernized, but they received a lot of them. I think from Germany, both Greece and Turkey received plenty of T-55s from Germany in the 90s. It's all about the doctrine. It's all about the proper training, proper field manuals, and proper military culture in general.
Yeah, I think the key is that the Ukrainians have been using pretty much the same vehicles that the Russians have been using, and they have been achieving excellent results with them. The Russians have not. It has everything to do with doctrine and training. And Russian doctrine really has not changed appreciably since, honestly, the end of World War II. So
Yeah,
they're using old doctrine and poorly trained personnel, lack of NCOs to make that worse. And then you compound that with the fact that all the soldiers are now complaining that the officers aren't anywhere near the front. They're hiding out in bunkers in the rear. So you've basically got troops who don't have anybody in command going out and doing everything stupidly. So it has everything to do with you could use substandard equipment and achieve good results if you have good personnel, good doctrine, good commanders. And the Russians have none of those.
Yeah, they have the Addams family.
On a good day.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I agree. And when this war was about to start, and we analyzed our opportunities and things like that, we used to joke a lot that this will be a war between a big Soviet army and a small Soviet army. Speaking of our army. I mean, it was like ironically, but still, we use same tanks, same howitzers, and same rifles and things like that.
Literally, since now the #1 supplier of military hardware to Ukraine is Russia.
Absolutely, absolutely. According to Institute for Studying Warfare, 50% of Ukrainian tanks were captured from Russians.
Very kind of them to run away and
Well,
leave the
yeah, I
keys
mean,
in the ignition.
that's a stunning figure when you think about it, and a lot of people don't realize just how messed up things are in that regard. Is that the Ukrainian army has 50% of its main combat strength is stuff they captured since the start of the war, and that's even considering all the stuff that NATO and the U.S. and everybody has given them. That speaks volumes to the level of incompetence that you're seeing in the Russian military right now.
Very much. We should, okay. We got to cap it at an hour tonight. There is some happenings in Starsky's world, and he wants to very much be a part of it because they're good happenings. So, Clapper's got his hand up, so we'll get to Jack, and then we're going to shoot over to a few questions from viewers, and then get our thoughts in and stuff. So, Jack, it's all you.
I just wanted to ask like a small question to talking about like antiquated methodologies of warfare to Starsky. I consume a lot of content, so I do not remember for the life of me who said it, where they said it, but I did hear that Russian volunteers are providing landlines to the front lines because like a physical cable to communicate and, you know, whatever. I just wanted to ask how much of that is true, because I don't know. I genuinely can't really understand if that can be true. Is it that bad?
Yes. So there are volunteers that provide Russians with shovels, for example.
Mm-hmm.
There are volunteers providing them with, you know, like food, of course. For example, in Hostomel, it was already when it was liberated in April. So in April, we were finding a lot of food packs prepared by Russian volunteers. It was like a month and couple of days after the beginning of the invasion. So you can understand what kind of problems they had already there.
Mm.
Yeah, their volunteers try to bring them different stuff like radio stations. Those Chinese Baofeng radio stations, they are very, very good because you can hear everything they say. Like we used to intercept their communications via Baofeng using our own Baofeng. So yeah, and one of the things, for example, the latest thing that Russian volunteers from Russian political party Единая Россия, which is their ruling party, the latest thing they brought to Russian mobilized troops was a Lada car. I had a picture somewhere. It was an orange Lada car. I don't think it was really new, but still it was
orange.
It was orange Lada car.
Camouflage.
With this big sticker on the windshield saying "Партия Единая Россия."
Oh, I need to check that out. That sounds hilarious.
So I wanted to add something to that question because it was a little confusing in the wording, and I was thinking something completely different.
Yeah, so was I.
The idea that they're using landline communications makes sense from two perspectives. Number one, if you're using landline as opposed to radio or cell phone or something, it can't be intercepted. It's a secure communication, so it makes sense to have that.
A tad unreliable.
Yeah, it's a field telephone. I mean, you see them in every World War I or World War II movie. You know, so it makes sense from that perspective. But the flip side of that is the Russians know that their reliance on radio and cell phone communication has been a significant vulnerability for them. There have been so many HIMARS strikes against headquarters buildings, ammunition depots, etc. And we know for a fact that many of those are being targeted using triangulated radio and cell phone signals. So if they start relying more on field telephones, that vulnerability is mitigated. So it makes sense that they would be doing that.
Well, the other problem is they've been confiscating all the cell phones of their own. Everybody in their military, I believe, too, the officers, just absolutely everybody. And the reason is because they're calling home and saying, "Oh my God, you won't believe what's actually happening here." If they're using the lines, the landlines, they can control information from the front lines much easier. And in fact, the last strike, I forget where it was. I think both Starsky and Macmillan will remember where, but there was a strike recently where they.
Makiyevka.
Okay, and that's where they blamed the cell phone, and they said they were able to triangulate on the cell phones. Now that may or may not have been true, but one reason that Russia is highly emphasizing that point is to make it easier to confiscate the phones and to keep people from having them. Not for safety. They don't care about safety. They absolutely don't care about safety. It's to control the flow of information from the front lines.
We've got
Dick, I would like to add something real quick. It will not really solve the problem because, first of all, you cannot give the field phone to every Russian soldier.
Yeah.
So they cannot call home, of course, using the field phone. Another thing is that sometimes, and it's specifically experience of the war in Ukraine. I'm talking from my experience as well. Sometimes a cell phone is the only reliable type of communication on the front line. There are cases when when this saves lives or helps you to complete your mission. So this will cause much more problems because you cannot survive without communications on the front lines whatsoever, and this will bring more chaos. Again, you cannot give a field phone to every soldier in Russian army.
Right.
Well, you also can't use it if you're in mobile operations. It's a point-to-point thing. You can't walk around trailing a phone line with you.
Yeah, that's true, right? Claire, we've got some chats, so let's get ourselves all caught up then, shall we? Oh, you're muted, Meats. There we go.
Nope, I'm here. I made it. Okay, from Silver Earth. Are you worried about a more serious non-nuclear escalation, like satellites being shot down or underwater fiber optic cables being cut? I believe that's for you, Starsky.
I would not overestimate Russia like that.
Okay, good answer. From Julie Noor. Is the push rather in Donbas in the attack coming from Belarus a last desperate effort to try and force Ukraine to accept the annexations?
They will definitely use this opportunity to strike from Belarus. We know that they're bringing their reinforcements, fuel trucks, and things like that. A lot of those vehicles to Belarus. And I think in maybe late winter, early spring, we can expect another attack from there. I'm convinced that it's going to happen, but it will not change a lot because in order to change at least something, they need probably 1.5–2 million of people. As of today, right? But preferably like 4 or 5 million people, according to field manual. So they will not use. I don't think that it will be used to force Ukraine to negotiate. We will not negotiate with terrorists. We will not negotiate with losing party, of course. But they will definitely do that because Putin goes all in. He bets everything on this war, and he knows that it was his biggest mistake, and he doesn't know how to finish it. And I'm really happy that Russians already start realizing the same. They start realizing that, first of all, this war will not end well for them. They're already isolated, and every country in the world treats them as terrorists. And of course, they will they start realizing that sooner or later they will have to pay for what they did, and this day is coming.
Yes, absolutely. Sam has donated. There's no message except for a bunch of kisses, so I will extend those to everyone. I think most of those are going over to you there, Starsky. Okay, from Anthony Bestwick.
I'm just telling you, Starsky, the OnlyFans page, you have to be plugging that more, because you can fund half the war just by you on OnlyFans. I absolutely believe that.
It's like a kissing booth. Here we go. Okay, Anthony Bestwick. With the addition of 2 Patriot systems, I think missile defense is good. What's needed is drone defense, more Gepard and U.S. CRAMs, WGAR, WGAR. What does? Oh, I think that means what does the panel think? I think is a typo. Yes.
Good catch.
Speaking of Nick's commentary, well, I can definitely make an OnlyFans channel, but I need some other person,
Starsky, you got it.
Successful.
No,
the only one.
You got it already. It's Fudgy Fans.
So the only one, the only living person I have here is Fudge, and I'm sure that it's not the content that you prefer. As for the anti-air systems, I think that we need a lot of different types in order to create a layered system in Ukraine, and that's exactly what our government is working on with our partners.
Okay. From Zomb 1103, I saw that Zelensky in his address told Russians to take their stolen toilets and get out of the country. How did the Russians even recover from that? I don't know.
Oh my God!
Some would say they almost shit themselves.
Yeah. I don't know if that's recovery though.
I saw this video of there was a Russian woman who criticized stealing toilets in Ukraine. She said it's absolutely useless because eventually this toilet becomes full of shit. I mean, she doesn't realize that you gotta have
a flush,
like pipes, sewers. And she highly criticized it. But I don't know, they can use it for other purpose, bathing their kids or whatever. I don't know.
Oh God!
Swimming pool.
Yeah.
All right, we're caught up.
All right. Well, what do you do after that? We're down to like 10 minutes, I think, here, right? Because Starsky doesn't want to be late. Yeah, we're down to like 10 minutes. So, Dave, how about we pull a couple of questions from the viewers, and then we can, have a little wrap up goodbye moment and all.
Sure. So there was one question that came earlier from Von Dalen, as opposed to Von Halen, I suppose. Why isn't Ukraine attacking those big Russian military groups in Belarus? They attacked you from there before and will maybe again. Why holding back?
Well, first of all, because we are not invading other countries, and because it will be perceived by Belarusians as attack, as On the first day of invasion in Ukraine, Lukashenko made this famous video with the map, and he was showing like the directions from where Ukraine was supposed to invade Belarus and Russia, of course. And if we do that, basically this will become true, right? And another thing is that currently we're trying to deliver this message to Belarusians that they have chance to avoid being killed. It's just they don't have to come to Ukraine and die. And we are trying to express our peaceful intentions this way, because like nobody wants to kill them, but we will if we have to. So that's basically the reason why we don't want to preventively kill those people, because preventive invasion is basically what all the assholes do, like Putler, like Hitler, and things like that. I don't believe in preventive invasions, and I'm glad that nobody in the civilized world does.
Very much.
Well, I was going to say, you also have to consider that if Ukraine does attack into Belarus, it gives a pretext for the leader, Lukashenko, I think is his name, to stand up and say, you know, oh, we're being attacked, and everybody will rally behind him. And one of the main reasons I think that Belarus has not gotten directly involved is because he knows his people despise him, and going to war gives them a pretext to topple him. So it makes little sense strategically for Ukraine to attack them.
Oh yeah, we're just itching for that guy to, you know, like fuck up somewhere.
Oh yeah,
and then just like strangle him to death. But you know, we wouldn't mind if you bomb us here and there, you know. And then Starsky, anytime.
Well, I think at this point, if we all say like goodbyes and this and that's and thoughts and stuff, we'll end just on time for Starsky to go and do something very enjoyable. So, well done. Excellent. Let's see. Let's start with Jack. We haven't seen you in a while. Thoughts and wrap-ups on the, you know, the chat and whatnot, and just, you know, how things are over there.
Good to be here again. Kind of a shame that I missed a lot, but you know, life kind of gets in the way. Really happy to see you and hear from you again, everybody. And yeah, this been great. I really hope that I'm just not going to disappear again with some stupid stuff, and just, you know, have more fun with you.
Excellent. I really hope that is the case as well. Let's go to our Commander 401. I have to be very careful with that around here these days. Oh, maybe muted and doing something in the back. You never know. It could happen. And let's go to the man who earned Commander Macmillan.
It was I thought a good session, a lot of information being exchanged. Thanks for having me.
Cool. And his partner in crime over on the In Time show, where Starsky can be seen every Friday as well, we've got Nick.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was informative. This is great because I get to have Commander Macmillan and Operator Starsky on us. I get to see them twice. We have them on Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern on In Time, and then we come over here and you know, I get to hang with you guys again. So it was a delight as always. I've been dropping these lines in the live chat. I'm going to say it one more time just so everybody hears. YouTube has an algorithm. It's horrible. We're all slaves to it. Liking the stream is free. Go do that, and you can let Dick and everyone here know that you appreciate it and really helps them out. So thank you guys very much for having me. And yeah.
Yep. Well done. Thanks, man. And well, Dave's in. So there you go, Dave. What do you think?
And it's been Dave. I haven't seen you since last year. It's not been long enough. Anyways, please.
I knew that was coming.
I was going to say so many lovely things, and now I'm going to say even lovelier things. It's such an honor to be in such esteemed. No, it's not. It's really not. But the Starsky balances that out. So whatever. It's good to be back. Good to be back. I love the banter. I love the toing and throwing, and being able to get an update every week. Having that sobering moment is always worth it. So
yes,
Slava Ukraini.
Yes.
Good shout. Good shout. And Bear, what does Claire think for the day?
Claire thinks it was a great show. Again, love getting up to date on what's going on. I have to say, Starsky, you're doing a great job on Twitter with keeping the information out there. That has been everyone should follow him over there also. And I appreciate you taking the time, and I hope you have a great time today, whatever it is you're doing. You look a little more rested today, so I hope it's something really fun that you're looking forward to. And thank you for being here.
Awesome shout out. We just had a donation come in. Autistic Shill donated $20. Merry Ukrainian Christmas from me, my Ukrainian husband, and his parents. May this be your year of winning in peace. I just grabbed it because I was about to hand to Starsky anyway. So, Starsky, the floor is yours, buddy. Take us home, my friend.
Thank you so much for being here. As always, thank you for great questions. And yeah, I hope that you're having a fantastic day. Be safe. And thanks for supporting Ukraine. That's a right thing to do.
Awesome. Yes. And speaking of which, as we always say, you got to keep on your local politicians and anybody who's listening to urge more and more support. Every single thing done is something that's good and needed and can help. And help is what we have to do. So on that note, remember everybody, Slava Ukraini, and keep every single buddy or person over there in your hearts and minds as we endure the conflict. Take care, everybody. Good night. Thanks for coming.
Right. Right.
Toodles.
Boom.
Yeah, blown up.
It's over. Go home.